Now to our Brown stuff. They cut, and we saw this coming. Yesterday we talked about John Johnson III was probably John Johnson III, JJ3, was likely to be a casualty when the news came out that the Browns were interested in Bengal safety Jessie Bates. It happened this morning. It clears up almost $10 million in cap space, $9.75 million in cap space. First of all, anybody have a problem with the Browns cutting JJ3?
No,
because
like you said, we thought it was. I think this was. We all thought it was likely, if not definite. So
he underperformed in my book in his second season. His first season, he did about what I thought he would do, but last year he just took a step back.
I gotta say, Jay, I thought he was not even that good in his first season. I thought he was
better.
I agree.
Yeah,
but still, like when he came here, he was. And listen, as we talk about all the time, PFF is not perfect. Those grades are not perfect.
Right.
They make mistakes too. But he was a PFF darling when the Browns signed him.
Yeah.
He had a huge grade the year before, and I thought he was going to be a difference maker. And even when he was better his first year, he wasn't a difference maker.
No.
He never really was.
You know what I wonder about that, Bull and McNuggets? System. We always talk about, is it system or is it player?
Yeah.
When Hill and Johnson were with the Rams,
They were good.
they were
Both of them.
they were one of the top combos in the league.
Yeah.
And they came here, and Hill took a big step back.
Yeah.
Johnson, I thought, took a step back from what we saw when he was with the Rams. Hill went back to the Rams and almost immediately went right back to the level he was playing at before, which really leads me to believe Joe Woods' system may have been so screwed up that you could take good players and put them in it and they underperform. That has me really excited about what this could look like with Schwartz next year.
Especially in the secondary, because we know they have a lot of talent there.
It's there.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Denzel take a step back.
Right.
We've just seen it. Newsome took a step back. I'm putting a lot of faith that Schwartz is going to get these guys back to playing at the level that we're accustomed to.
Yeah, when you look at John Johnson, he was 5th his final year in L.A. in the PFF grades.
Yeah.
And like both said, those grades are flawed. But this year, he was the 63rd ranked safety, and he was finished 85th among safeties in tackling grades. So they asked him to be a run stuffer, a strong safety, free safety hybrid. He didn't force turnovers like they expected him to.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't stop the run like they expected him to, and he never turned into the leader I think they paid him to be. I mean, you remember some of the plays that Tyvus and G. Bush broke down, the effort plays, where Tyvus said, yeah, there was nothing he could really do, but when we look at it,
He gave up on
he
plays.
gave up on a play.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy making that much money in a position of leadership, which he did wear the green dot for a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah. And he was looked at as a veteran leader.
You cannot have that guy not put out the effort necessary to inspire the other 10 players on the field. And I think that was the biggest miss from John Johnson, whether it's Andrew Berry, Joe Woods, Stefanski, whoever thought, hey, this guy could be our defensive leader.
Yeah.
that was a bigger miss than what he did on the field.
I just wonder if the talent isn't there. It was just misused by Joe Woods.
I think that that's a fair criticism to some degree, but I never give the player a total pass when they don't perform. Even if I blame the system some, I got to give some blame to the player. And ultimately, I think John Johnson would often talk in press conferences as if he was a leader on a team.
Talked a great game.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't want to hear what you have to say when you're not performing on the field.
Right.
And so, we talked about the Jessie Bates thing yesterday, and we all talked about, hey, it might not be the smartest idea to spend a ton of money on safety. Mary Kay reporting today that Jessie Bates is potentially a target after we discussed it.
He's, quote, on their radar.
Right,
Yeah.
and listen, I think we all agree that there's bigger priorities at defensive tackle, wide receiver, and maybe even linebacker. However, if they're willing to go, if they're like, hey, we already went all in on Deshaun Watson, let's go crazy.
Right.
Then John Johnson and Jessie Bates is a significant upgrade. Jessie Bates
agree.
is more of a game changer. Now, he's not Minka Fitzpatrick. He's not super elite, but he's just below that. And he's really good.
I think he's where Johnson was when he came here.
I think he's even better than that.
You do?
I do.
Because Johnson was top 5 safety.
Right, but he had done it for 1 year, Johnson.
Right.
Bates is a
has
longer
been
track record.
consistently good, really good. Not to mention something similar to Johnson when they brought him in. Part of the reason they brought him in is because of his playoff experience. Well, Jessie Bates has gone to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
He went to the Super Bowl the year before. But he also knows what it's like to lose because he was here earlier on the Bengals when it was bad. So he would be.
And he knows the division.
He knows the division. He would be a good influence on even though he's not old, he's as much a veteran as any of the guys in the secondary.
He's been to a Super Bowl.
Been to a Super
on that
Bowl.
alone, you have a comment from JJ3?
Yeah, if we want to take tag board full here. So he says, I wish I could have done more while here. However, I know my best ball is ahead of me. So he's still kind of talking like a leader there.
Yeah.
He's taking
Yeah.
the classy road out.
I mean, you don't see
confident.
players kind of blame themselves at all.
No.
No.
And he is a little bit.
And he went back on, and the rest of that quote was in the article, and he essentially said, I can still play. It didn't work out here. I'm sorry, Cleveland, that I didn't live up to expectations, but wherever I go next, you're going to get a quality player. And I had a thought this morning when I was kind of playing these scenarios through my mind. We know the Browns, what's what I'm looking for? They prioritize certain things, and defensive line and defensive tackle was not something they prioritized this year. In a pass-happy league, I'm curious if they look at the climate of the NFL and say, we can't stop the run, but teams don't run the ball enough. That even though defensive tackle may be a more glaring issue talent-wise to where we're not up to league average at least, is it more valuable to get a high-end back-end safety because it's such a pass-happy league?
I don't know. Again, I've said this before. I don't know that I agree that they don't prioritize defensive line. I just think they don't. They haven't evaluated it well.
Well, that and ultimately you are prioritizing certain things. You just are. And based on
money spent,
allocations of assets. How are you allocating your assets? And it has been abundantly clear for a number of years that they are all in on defensive backs.
True.
They've gone high in the draft with defensive backs. It makes sense that you are a pass-happy league, and they probably feel as long as we have Myles Garrett, and previously this year would be different, you've got Jadeveon Clowney as bookends, we're pretty good up front. So I think they neglected the middle and the interior of the defensive line. Middle meaning linebackers.
Yeah.
Well, what the NFL is so good at doing is diagnosing. They're so good, particularly, I think Belichick really started that. Okay, what do you do well? Where's your strength? Now, both offense and defense. Your strength is defensive backs? Okay, that's cool. We're going to run it. And what was stunning to me was when we played teams, when the Browns played teams that did not make that adjustment, the Buccaneers, they ended up winning. It was a very close game.
The first Bengals game.
But the first Bengals game, these guys, they came in there and said, our strength versus your strength, we just feel we're better.
Right.
Well, they beat Burrow and Brady in those two games.
Yeah.
Then you had a team like Atlanta that at halftime was smart enough to figure out these guys suck against the run.
Right.
And they started bringing second and third team running backs in with injury.
Right.
Guys that were on the practice squad 3 days earlier.
Who did nothing after that.
They did nothing after that, but they gashed the Browns where they were weak.
Yeah. And I would have to believe Andrew Berry, if nothing else, is a very smart guy.
Yes.
I would have to believe that after years of mid-tier draft capital on linebacker and defensive tackle, that to this point has failed. Now, maybe those guys with a better coach will improve. We'll see.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on that at this point.
No.
They have to spend some capital at defensive tackle, financial capital.
You're right.
And I think it makes sense to do it, whether that's free agency or trade, and not via the draft.
And Deron Payne got franchise tagged this morning, who was the one guy we all wanted.
We knew that would happen.
Right.
It was expected.
Nobody was even planning on that.
Yeah.
It was interesting as I look at the allocation of money, how they're doing this. Do you have a ballpark of what you think the Bates deal will be worth?
Mary Kay reported.
Is he going to get $15 million
Mary
a
Kay
year?
reported upward of 14.
I said 15 yesterday, so Mary Kay said 14. She would have a better idea than me. But
she said upwards of 14 and
right,
up.
so
right
somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Which is more than John Johnson was making, for the record. So they're actually spending more money on the safety
12,
position.
Right?
He was going to make 13.
Okay,
so
13.
essentially the same.
So essentially the same, but the cap hit at 9.34 or 9.75 for JJ3 means it's gonna take money away from other areas.
Right. Unless they get creative. Oh, look at my guy Cleve TA. Johnson
Cleve.
will have to be a post June 1st cut to save $9.75 million. So unfortunately, the Browns can't use the cap space until after June 1st. Watson's 33 to 35 million conversion to bonus will be the next domino, I'm sure.
So that's.
I wondered about that. I wondered why they were, because it said originally. I think it was Mike Garafolo
who had it
had
first.
tweeted that March 15th when the league year starts.
Yeah.
But I thought that June 1st was the date.
Right.
But they announced it. So do they not get the full cap relief?
I think. If Cleve TA is saying that, his whole life,
he's a
his
genius.
stats and analytics and cap, he's all over.
Jason Lloyd's going to join us.
Jason,
We'll ask him, but I agree with you.
But I
Cleve
think
TA
you can designate a guy as a post-June 1st cap hit, which means he becomes a free agent once the league year starts, I believe.
He's just giving them a run-up, and the other teams a run-up knowing
right,
he's available.
but that you can't use the extra cap space until after June.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and you could post-date a deal with Bates to June 1st.
Right, or somebody else,
Or someone else.
Right, you know. So, yeah, we'll see.
Here's I think my biggest concern on all of this was, what if there are other teams that want safeties? The Browns are not alone in that basket.
Yeah.
And the Bengals are going to try to re-sign Bates, too.
Sure,
They're not signing
no,
up.
they won't be able to reach that number.
They won't. They have to re-sign Burrow. They have to sign Chase next year. They have a lot of good free agents.
Yeah.
What percentage
You
would you
think
put
Mixon's
at that?
gone, right?
Mixon they're going to cut,
Yeah.
probably. I don't think there's any. The only way Bates comes back to the Bengals is if they franchise tag him a second year, which I doubt they'll do.
Okay.
They've never done that before, so I don't think they'll do it.
Fair.
I think there's no way Bates, because they have, like I said, they want to extend Burrow this offseason. T. Higgins is a free agent after this year. Logan Wilson's a free agent after this year.
Chase is going to have to get paid.
Chase is next year, but what's his name's a free agent. There are other good linebackers. Pratt is a free agent.
They've got a lot
Hayden
of
Hurst is
issues
a free
coming out.
agent. They got to decide what to do at right tackle with Lyle Collins. Now, they have a ton of cap. They're actually fifth in cap space in the league.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
They're
they
gonna
could
need it, though.
And they could create more by cutting Mixon and Lyle Collins, which I think they should do. But the point is, I'll be stunned if Bates is back.
So my
more thing.
fear is they get in a bidding war with someone.
but there'll be other teams. Yes.
And if it gets too rich for their blood and they tap out, and
Yeah.
now they don't have JJ3, that could be an issue.
Two things. So we talked about yesterday, ESPN predicted Bates to go to the Browns in their free agent predictor. PFF predicted Bates to go to the Falcons.
Yeah.
So
There will be
they're
other
Who
teams.
cut
other
Marcus
teams-
Mariota today?
Yeah, I
by
know
the
to
way.
save
Yeah.
$12 million in a different cap casual
Right,
situation.
yeah.
So Bates is no lock by any means to come here. There's a guy on that list, Juan Thornhill from KC.
Right.
If it's not Bates, he's the guy.
Those are all good players.
Yeah.
I mean, Bates is the best, but those are all.
And Thornhill will come at half the
There's
price.
guys, actually, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank again. The Bengals' other safety,
Von Bell.
Von Bell.
Why do
He's
I know the
also a
Bengals
free
better
agent.
than you? Come on, Paul.
The names
He's
are just falling
blanking
out of
out.
my head
Chop,
right
chop.
now. I don't know what's happening.
By the
So-
way, we didn't talk about the diet. How'd the diet go yesterday?
Great,
Good?
great. Everything's good.
Feel good?
I feel fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe he's getting brain fog for lack of food. That's
Yeah,
what I
maybe
thought.
that's
no,
it.
maybe
I
that's
don't
what
know.
it is.
Hey, sometimes you do. When I'm hungry, all
I'm not
songs
hungry
shut
though.
down.
I don't know,
Hey.
but I can't think of their safeties.
Well, that's great news that you're not
I'm here. I
hungry.
got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. One way or another, we'll continue to follow this.
Yeah.
The Browns now are going to need another safety. So if
Sure.
it's not Bates, it's going to have to be someone that can come in. The good thing about Schwartz is he knows the personnel. He's
Yeah.
been in the game. He obviously knows who's available, who's good,
Yeah.
who will fit perfectly in his system. Sometimes a team will make a signing, and it's not the best available player, the widely accepted best available player.
Right.
But it's the player that best fits what defensive coordinator or head coach wants
No
to
doubt.
do.
I
And-
think Jermaine Pratt, who we just mentioned, who I couldn't think of his name and you did, is also another excellent fit for the Browns.
He'd be awesome.
I mean, he was
Yeah.
phenomenal last year.
He's
Is
gonna get,
he a free agent?
He is
yeah,
a
he's
free
gonna
agent.
get paid though.
Wow.
He's gonna get
He's
paid.
going to get paid. Now, he exploded this year. He had been an okay player until this year, and then he
Right.
just had a monster year. But
How
it's
much of
another
that?
guy.
It's funny that you guys bring in the new DC,
Yeah.
and you had some guys who were, serviceable, maybe even mediocre, and all of a sudden blossomed.
Yeah.
Kansas City is a team that's done that on both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
Yeah.
They had rookies starting all over the damn place.
Yeah.
6 rookies started.
And what's incredible about that is I read a piece a couple of days ago and it said, no, this wasn't luck. This wasn't, finding guys in the draft that other teams didn't find. This is Andy Reid coaching up players to be the best they can be.
I mean, coaching matters. We think about more on offense all the time, but yeah, I mean, the Bengals DC has made a huge difference in some of their talent, and
I
that's
was
why.
hoping like Kelly would have gone to Arizona.
And I think he's part of the reason they're not afraid to let a couple of guys go because they're
Yeah.
like, well, we'll bring in somebody else and Lou will do a good job with
It's
them.
a little bit like the Browns' offensive line.
Yep.
We've talked about that.
That's
before.
true. Yes.
You've got a guy in Callahan that no matter what piece of clay you give him, he seems to mold it into something that is really good.
Except Jed Wills, who
Well-
might be the best piece of marble he's ever had to work with. in
The
Cleveland.
thing with Wills is, I think, he comes in with such high expectations. When you're early first-round draft pick, that's something you don't think about for 10 years. We were spoiled by Joe Thomas. There are, most of the time he does his job.
Yeah.
When he does it, he looks so bad
I think that's
that
it.
his ceiling
think-
can be here and his floor is here.
I do think the more I thought about this, that Jedrick Wills is adequate at left tackle. He's not great, Comparing anybody to Joe Thomas is going to look bad.
Right.
And you made the point, and you're right. When he's bad, he looks really bad.
He just stands there.
He looks lost, and that's bad. But look at how, Wyatt Teller, the Browns got him for nothing. He had done nothing in Buffalo. Now, he hadn't been there long, but he was a late draft pick. It wasn't like he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Now, Pochich was a high pick, but he had not done anything in Seattle. He'd been terrible.
4 years, nothing.
And Callahan turns both of those guys into guys that are whispered for Pro Bowls.
Right.
Teller had an interesting year, but Pochich was on track to be a Pro Bowl player.
He was.
Top
when he
5
got
rated
hurt.
PFF center.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe this is going to be one of those issues where Schwartz is to the defensive side what Callahan is to the offensive line, what the Bengals defensive coordinator was to their unit, what Andy Reid and his coordinators in Kansas City have been to their talent. Because everybody's good at this point. What can you get out of them? How can you maximize their skill set? Put them in a position to showcase what they do best. And perhaps we weren't getting that with Joe Woods here.
He's going to
have
have
everyone
to.
might look better next year.
He's going to have to because there are too many holes, just on the defensive side. They can't fill them all in one offseason, whether it's draft guys, free agents, trades.
You're
they
right.
have too
It's
many
like
holes to
whack-a-mole.
fill. So it is up to Schwartz to get the most out of the guys they have on this roster to
You're
maximize.
right. At least in the
Yes.
first year.
At least
By
in
the
year
way,
one.
we are for those who don't know, the NFL a couple of years ago went to this thing where they have the tampering period for like 48 hours before the league year officially starts.
Right.
We will be live on the air when that tampering period begins in 13 days, 6 minutes, and 30 seconds. It is noon on Monday the 13th. We're less
36
than 2
minutes.
weeks away.
Yeah.
Was my math?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. No, 13 days.
Yeah,
a
it's
Monday.
almost due.
Almost 2 weeks. Yeah.
yeah.
You said next time. I meant 2 Mondays.
Sorry, 2 Mondays.
Minutia.
And so Monday at noon, which is when the tampering period begins, guys start signing unofficially immediately.
The reports are flying from agents.
Flying.
They get the word out. You know what's
So
done.
that second hour of that show for us that Monday
It's going to be filled with
bonkers.
news. Filled with news.
And-
Hopefully some of it Browns related.